So today we are going to be talking about the foundational parts of medical terminology. First part is the types of word parts, and we're going to start with the root. A root is the base word of the term, and it's the basic word parts that give a medical term its meaning. First example is going to be cardiology, with the root word being cardi. Cardi means heart, and it's used in, like I said, cardiology, and we'll get to what ology means later on. Second, we've got nephro. Nephro being kidneys, and it's used in terms such as nephrology. And like I said before, we'll talk about ology and what that means coming up soon. So nephro means kidneys. And then we have hepatitis. Hepatitis not hepatitis, but hepat, which is the root, hepat. It refers to the liver. And for example, we have hepatitis, itis being inflammation. So inflammation of the liver. We're going to talk about how we're going to figure what itis means after this. Next, we have the combining form. So the combining form is a word part that is created by combining a root word with a vowel, usually an O, and it links with a root word to a suffix or another root, and usually use the O when it's not with a vowel. So first example is going to be dermato. So dermat, I'm going to use the O to combine. Comes from the Greek word derma, or skin, and we can use it in medical terms such as dermatology. We start with the root, or the combining form, we have dermato, so we have dermato, then ology being the study of. So this is the study of skin. Next we're going to talk about osteo. Osteo comes from the word bone, or osteon, and we can use it in terms such as osteoporosis. So we have the root word, or combining form osteo, oste/o, combined with porosis. Porosis being poor condition that causes bones to become brittle and fragile. And next we'll talk about cardio. We combine it with myopathy. So cardiomyopathy, this is another root word by itself, but we'll get into that later. So we have the combining form cardio and myopathy being the disease of muscle, and cardio being heart, so it's the disease of heart muscle. And then next we have to talk about the suffixes, and a suffix is a word part that come at the end of the term, and they modify its meaning. For example, we have arthritis. The suffix is itis. Itis means inflammation. Or arthro means joint, so you combine it, inflammation of the joint. Next we have sarcoma, with the suffix being oma, which means tumor or mass, and sarc being flesh, sarc/o. So we have flesh, we have tumor, so together it's the tumor of flesh. Next we have biology. I'm sure you've heard this before. We have ology, which is the study of, and bio, which is life or living organisms, so together is the study of life or living organisms. After the suffix, we can talk about a prefix, and a prefix are the word parts that come at the beginning of the term. Pre by itself is a prefix. So for example, we have hypotension. Hypo meaning below normal, tension meaning pressure, so together it's low blood pressure. Next we have prenatal, and this one actually has a prefix and a suffix. So al means pertaining to, nate means birth, pre means before, so if we put it together, it's pertaining to before birth. Next we talk about intercostal, same thing, prefix and suffix, cost meaning ribs, inter meaning in between, not inside of. So if you put this together, pertaining to, in between the ribs. Alright, so now that you know what the terms are, we're going to learn how to build them. So we're going to start with the root. The root's word is, like I said before, the foundation of the medical term. And for our example, we're going to start with the root word tension. We talked about it previously, it means pressure. Once we have a root word, tension, we're going to add a prefix. And the prefix is added to modify the meaning. So in this case, we have hyper and hypertension. So hyper means over or above, tension meaning pressure, like we said above. So hypertension is above normal blood pressure. And then another way you can build the term is by adding a suffix to the root word. So for this example, we talked about it earlier, itis, or inflammation, right? Bronch being bronchioles. So inflammation, bronchioles, inflammation of the bronchioles. And then you can also combine all the terms together that we learned, so prefix, root, and suffix. Here we go, we have the prefix, hyper being above, lyse, meaning sugar, emia, meaning blood. So above normal blood sugar, above normal blood sugar. Alright, now that you know how to build terms, you'll learn how to break them down. First step in breaking down the terms is separating the word parts that we learned. If you don't remember, they are root, suffix, prefix. Once determined, you will start from the suffix and move backwards. Part of move backwards so that you can identify each part until getting to the beginning of the term. After that, you have to determine the context in which the word is being used, because they can have multiple meanings. So our first example is going to be hypertension. So as we learned before, tension meaning pressure. So this is our root word. Then we look at our prefix, which is hyper. So tension, pressure, hyper above, so above normal pressure of the blood. Next we have osteoporosis. So let's break it down. We have porosis, which is a condition of pores. We have osteo, again, gets separated with the O because this is not a vowel, osteoporosis. Porosis being condition of pores, osteo being bone. So together it is the condition of bones becoming porous and brittle. Next we have pendectomy. Our suffix is ectomy. Our root is append being appendix, like it sounds like, ectomy being surgical removal. So we have the surgical removal of the appendix. Next, we're going to talk about a few similar suffixes and their definitions. So we have raphe, which is the surgical suturing or repairing. We have rhea, which is flow or discharge, and rhexis, which is rupture or breaking. These all have the double R, so it's easy to get confused. Next, we're going to talk about some terms that we should know. We have gram. Gram is to record or picture. For example, we have mammogram, which is an X-ray image of breast tissue. Then we have graph. Graph is an instrument used to record data. For example, spirograph. Spirograph measures lung function by recording the amount and speed of air breathed in and out. Then we have graphy. Graphy is the process of producing or recording an image. For example, radiography. Radiography is the process of producing images inside the body using X-ray. Next, we've got scope. Scope is an instrument used for viewing or examining. For example, endoscope. Endoscope is an instrument used to examine the inside of the body. Next, we have scopy, which is the act of examining or viewing. For example, we have colonoscopy, which is the process of using a colonoscope to examine the inside of the colon. Next, we have tomy. Tomy is the surgical incision or cutting. Here we have gastrotomy, which is a surgical incision into the stomach. Gastro being stomach, tomy being surgical incision or cutting. Next, we have ectomy. Ectomy being the surgical removal. For example, we have mastectomy. Mastectomy being the removal of the breast. And lastly, we have stomy, which is the creation or opening. For example, we have colostomy, which is the creation of an artificial opening in the abdominal wall through which the colon can be